movies of various genres and decades. Stay tuned for this episode.
Hey everyone, it's the first episode of the year, and we got some weird ones for you, and some crazy ones. So, buckle your seats. I'll let Bill start us off.
Okay, well, I'm going to go chronologically again. So my first film is from 1953, and I decided I wanted to talk about Robot Monster. This is one of those films that's listed in the Golden Turkey Awards book by the Medved brothers as one of the worst movies ever made. Of course, it didn't win that title. That was won by Plan 9 from Outer Space from Ed Wood. But this one, I don't know. This is pretty bad. It's good for making fun of. You've probably seen the stills of it. It's the one with the guy with a gorilla suit, but a old-timey scuba diver helmet on top.
Yeah.
The story supposedly of how they got that suit, how they came up with that costume for he's supposed to be an alien, okay, first of all. The way they came up with that was basically a lot of these old B movies from the 50s, they would film in the studios, the major studios, during the night, overnight. Not always with permits. Sometimes they didn't, sometimes they didn't. So when they did this, I believe this one did have a permit. Sometimes they literally broke into the studios and did these movies. I believe Ed Wood did that a few times. I believe this one actually did have permits. But a lot of times the props departments would lock up everything, all the costumes, all the scenery, everything that they could would be locked up. So they had to use whatever was left open, whatever was laying around. And these are just the things that they found laying around to make a movie with. It is very juvenile. I will say that. It's your typical alien lands. He's trying to take over the Earth. The gorilla suit with the scuba helmet guy does talk. And I'm going to have to give away the spoiler because I think it improves the movie rather than detracts from it. It's all in the little kid's dream, which actually makes a lot of sense. But I think the kid about that age wrote this thing. it's a great movie to make fun of. If you're looking to want to watch a movie that's going to make you feel superior, this might be the movie for you. If you have some kind of inferiority complex, this could help you out with that. So, but it's a lot of fun to make fun of. It's not really good for much else, but it's a cute little thing. Robot Monster. I'm sure you've seen the stills and maybe some footage of it carrying the woman in a white dress off the robot monster, and I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous. But I think it was also filmed in Death Valley or the Yucca Flats or one of those kinds of areas. Anyway, I believe it's filmed in the same place that The Beast from Yucca Flats was filmed. I could be wrong about that, but it's somewhere out there out west in a desert area. Anyway, it's definitely filmed out there somewhere. So that's what I'm kicking things off with. And it's pretty crazy.
Well, then it comes around to me, and I'm going to start with something from the silent era, all the way back to 1928, The Fall of the House of Usher, which I actually ran as one of my silents on one of the Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary episodes. And what's really weird about this, good luck trying to follow any kind of plot. It's like a lot of it just runs like it's some drug-induced hallucination. I mean, you just watch it, it's just like really weird. In fact, when I did the remix of it, I did a bunch of like hippie music and like weird color shifts and like that kind of thing because it just fit it. It just looks like somebody took some acid and is absolutely tripping. It is a really bizarre movie for the time period. I mean, I don't know what they were going for. I've read that it's like surreal art kind of thing, but man, it's just bizarre. I don't dislike it, although there are a couple movies in today that I do really dislike. That one's not one of them, but it is very weird.
Yeah, sounds it.
How accurate is it to the story?
I don't think it is accurate to the story at all. I
Okay.
was when I watched, I mean, I hadn't read the story in a while, but I was like, I don't know what this is. Doesn't seem to have anything to do with the story.
That's funny. And I've seen a lot of Poe adaptations. I don't think I've seen that one. Actually, that sounds interesting. I like trippy stuff, so I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
All right. Mine. It's a short film from
Oh, by the way,
1970.
that one was a short film as
That
well.
was a
I
short
think it's
one.
about 14 minutes, maybe.
Oh wow! So yours is the shortest so far. Uh, Mine is from 1970 and from David Lynch called The Grandmother. Uh, it's on like a collection of other short films that he's done, but this one was particularly weird because I had seen mention of it on YouTube, and I wanted to check it out because it just sounded completely out there. All right, so basically, it it combines live action with some really odd kind of animation, kind of almost like stop motion, and it's basically this little boy tries to grow a grandmother because he's neglected and abused and everything, and he just tries to um, to grow a grandmother, and there's like I said, it's a silent film, but it has noises and very disturbing sounding noises. That and I think it kind of follows a little bit like what Gary was saying about his, that it looks like there could have been it could be a psychedelic uh, trip going on, but just the idea of a little boy growing a grandmother because he's feels neglected and abused, and he wants some something someone for that's on his corner, and if you know George Lynch, I mean not George, I mean David Lynch, that it
Yeah, George
it
Lynch.
yeah
Lynch
it fits
mob.
with it fits with him, his style of movies, and so I did find this years ago on YouTube, and I don't know if it's still there, but the collection of the short films, I think I want to say Criterion has it, or one of those specialty companies has it, and yeah, so this is it's really short, so there's not really much else to say. I mean, um, I want to say it's weird, but it's more disturbingly weird. So, uh, one to look for if you're a Lynch
All right, so I'm back up, and I confess when Ron originally said to do crazy movies that I was thinking movies with crazy people at first, crazy characters. Um, but the first one that comes, and I think it actually fits both definitions of crazy anyway, so I kind of kept it on my list anyway. But I really wanted to talk about Spider Baby. Its full title is actually Spider Baby or the Maddest Story Ever Told. And this is probably the best movie on my list tonight. From the sounds of things, maybe anybody's list, maybe. I don't know. But it kind of fits both ways. It starts off with Manton Moreland, whom I've talked about before, black actor. This is one of his later roles. This is from 1968, so it is kind of psychedelic as well, has that psychedelic touch to it. Still black and white though. He's kind of trying to deliver something somewhere out in the sticks, and he comes across this old house, and you kind of assume that's what he's trying to deliver to that house, but you're not really sure because he knocks on the door, he looks in the window, and he sees a girl in there, and he yells to her, to get her attention so he can deliver this package, and the window shuts on his head, and this girl has this string that she's tied together like a spider web, and she's like, the spider's gonna get you, and she throws it over his head. Then she takes two knives and just slices them all up. You see his ear falling down on the ground and everything. So it's actually, it's got some gore to it for its era. It's also an early Sid Haig. He plays one of the three children. So the story plot is basically there's three children, two girls and one boy. The boy is mute. That's Sid Haig. They live in this house, and this family has suffered madness for generation after generation. And the only person left in the house who isn't mad is the butler chauffeur servant, who's played by Lon Chaney Jr. And so he's been taking care of them for all this time. And there's this family that has actually inherited the house, and they're supposed to adopt these children, which, I mean, children are like teenagers anyway. But anyway, and they show up and they have no idea what they're getting into. They have no idea that these kids are crazy and dangerous crazy. And so they get there along with their lawyers and other official people to try and adopt these kids. And Lon Chaney's kind of acting like he's in charge because he has been for so long. And they're trying to tell him that they're in charge now. And eventually, he's kind of like, okay, if you say so. And so some people die and some people don't, and I won't say who all lives and who dies, but there's some craziness going on. I should warn you, there is an animal death in there. The Sid Haig character kills a feral cat and serves it to them, just to show how crazy they are. And the one wife is kind of like, she's not going to eat it, but the husband's like, yeah, I'll have it, whatever, not thinking it's a rabbit, because apparently they look kind of similar. But it's a really good film. It's written and directed by what's his name? I just had it. Jack Hill. Jack Hill is written and directed. Who used to work with Roger Corman, was trained by Corman, worked with him for a long time. Many would say this is probably his best film. He's done some stinkers over in the years, but he's got some other decent ones too. This was pretty good. Probably his best work, or at least close to it. They remade it a couple years ago. I have not seen the remake. I don't even know if I'm interested in seeing the remake. But they remade it, I want to say somewhere around 2012. So I don't know if you wanted an updated version. There is one out there. I don't know how good it is because I haven't seen it. But the original is really good. Like I said, excellent cast. You have Manta Moreland in a brief role. Lon Chaney has the most screen time. Sid Haig in an early role. So I got to meet Sid Haig at MarsCon one year, and it was like, and then he died 2 months later. So
what did you do?
I don't know.
Up meeting people.
I'm like the Crow. I meet people and then he dies soon after. So maybe we never do want to get together face to face.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But Sid actually suffered a fall not too long after he was at that MarsCon, and then it was complications from the fall that I think got him. But I mean, he was also
pushed him down, right?
Maybe. I have a photo with him from that event too. You let me do a selfie and everything. Didn't even charge me for the selfie. But he seemed like a very nice, personable guy. He did a panel that day and everything, along with, I don't remember his name, but he was Jason in a number of the Friday the 13th movies. They did a panel together. It was very interesting. But anyway, that was one of his early roles in Spider Baby. So it's definitely worth seeing if you have not seen that one. It's from one of the better movies from its era, less talked about, but really holds up.
Sounds good. I think I've seen that.
I've wanted to see that. I've never seen it, but it's sort of on my list of I want to check that movie out.
Yeah, that one's worth it. That one, and that one's legit good. Not one of my it's so bad it's good kind of movies that I like to talk about sometimes. That one's actually pretty legit good.
Okay, well, I guess that brings us back around to me. And I mentioned a couple of the movies on this list I cannot stand. This is one of them. Um, and this one, they had Sven Gulli ran it like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times over the course of 2 years. And I was like, sat through it every time. And I'm like, oh my God, this movie. Oh, it's The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, which is a movie written by Dr. Seuss. And I didn't realize, so either I wasn't paying attention or it isn't very clear in the movie, but apparently I did some research on it to remind myself of the movie while I was getting ready for this. And apparently it's supposed to be all taking place in a kid's dream, which makes it make a little more sense in that way. But my God, this movie's poorly acted. It's just like absolutely bizarre in the story that doesn't make any freaking sense. Characters that act, in ways that they just don't seem like they'd act. Again, if it's a kid's dream, I guess it sort of makes sense. But it is just this bizarre story about this guy who's kidnapping all these children to power this big piano device that he has that requires like 2,500 kids playing it at once. And it's just so weird.
Maybe it's appropriate that you have a vacuum cleaner behind you because the movie sucks.
Oh, I didn't realize you could see that. Oh, well.
Yeah. All right. It does sound weird.
That movie does suck, but there's another one on my list that sucks even worse. So
Oh, okay.
Well,
So
hey,
you have the vacuum out.
yeah, there you go.
it's right up there with Robot Monster, right? It's the movies that
Oh,
suck.
far worse.
Maybe we should make that an episode.
All right. Well, my next one, still from the same year, 1970. It's a Czech film called Valerie and Her Weeks of Wonder. It's something. It's a very surrealistic dark fantasy that kind of touches on some gothic horror, just the way it's filmed. Um, Now you have to pay attention on the subtitles. So if you're one of these people that don't like subtitles for whatever reason, you might want to skip it for that reason alone. But just to watch it just for the visuals of it, it's kind of an interesting visual for. And it's basically it portrays Valerie as living in a disoriented dream. And it has priests, vampires, and men and women alike. It's just this. For 1970, a lot of in the early 70s, they had some really out there kind of movies. So this kind of falls right in with the rest of those, and this one is actually on Criterion, and I watched it on the Criterion channel years ago, and then I got rid of it because it was just too expensive just to watch like one or two films. But this one, it's perfect the way it just blends all the dark fantasy. There is a little bit of eroticism in it, so if you don't want to see stuff like that, you probably maybe skip it. But it's more of I want to categorize this as more of a curiosity type thing to watch, because I saw someone mention it on one YouTube channel years ago, and I was like, okay, now I'm curious. and I think I would categorize this as I don't like it, but I don't particularly hate it. But it's one of those, would I revisit it anytime soon? Probably not. I mean, it was just one of out of my whole thing, it was the most bizarre out of it. And that comes from talking about the previous movie. It was even more bizarre than that. So, and it actually was based on a novel of the same name. So, any of you people that like to read books, you might want to maybe look that up before watching the movie, so at least you can have some idea as to what's going on. So that's my second one.
Okay.
The first two of them were kind of tough to watch.
Okay, that one sounds interesting. And coincidentally, I'm now up to 1970. With my next movie, one of my favorite kaiju's, Yog the Monster from Space. In the kaiju realm, once 1970 hits, the budget starts to drop for some of these movies. They're still kind of fun, and this one is a lot of fun. It is a little bit on the trippier side, as some of those late 60s and early 70s kaiju movies. And it does have a alternate title, Space Amoeba. So you may have seen it also as Space Amoeba if you have not seen it as Yog the Monster from Space. So Yog is another alien, lands on Earth. You never really see him, I don't think, if I remember correctly. You don't really see him, but he takes he takes over other animals on this island. So some people are shipwrecked on the island. He takes over an animal, and when he takes over the animal, not only can he speak through the animal, he also turns into a giant kaiju version of that animal. So he does this with a couple of lobsters, and he does this with a couple of turtles and something else to it. I think, an octopus. How could I forget the octopus? The octopus looks the most ridiculous because it does go on land, and you can plainly see that it's a guy's feet are two of the legs, and then there's just these little loosely dangling other tentacles that are touching the ground. And Yog is supposed to be trying to take over the whole world, but he seems to be having a really hard time doing that with only 5 people on this island, keep defeating all these giant animals he keeps taking over. So so the bubble of how, terrorizing Yog could be kind of loses its touch around halfway through the movie, honestly. But it is a favorite. It's trippy, it's weird. It's one of the weirdest kaijus out there. One of the reasons I chose it for this one. And it's also a lot of fun. So, that's pretty much, I don't think there's much more to say about that plot. It's pretty much it. It's kind of obvious that when he turns into a second turtle and a second lobster, that it's the same suit as the first one. So
Budget concerns.
Yeah, they didn't have that many suits to use, so it kind of starts to feel like they're just trying to drag out the film towards the once you get past the first hour. I think it's only like an hour and 20 or 30 minutes as well. It probably could have been squashed down to around an hour, really. But it's still a fun, trippy kind of a kaiju. Kind of typical from that era. It's the same era as Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, Godzilla versus Megalon, some of the later Gammas like Gamma versus Zigra, things like that are also kind of, the quality starts to drop for all the kaiju movies. I mean, there's a couple of them that are still gems. This one's still a lot of fun, even if it doesn't have the bigger budget, but so that's what I have. It is a Toho, by the way. It's not one of the other studios. I guess I can point that out, but that's what I have for you. Yog, and I love that title, Yog the Monster from Space.
I said it just reminds me of Yog Kothag. For some reason, I'm getting that in my brain. So I had to ask Bill if that's what it was named after. I don't know, but I know this movie as Space Amoeba.
Yeah, I've heard of the Space Amoeba as well.
Space Amoeba, yeah. Some people have heard it as Space Amoeba. Oh, it's another one that I first saw on the Late Great Horror Show back when I was a kid. My late night hosted horror movie show in Erie, Pennsylvania. If I don't mind me giving a little shout out to that show whenever I can.
Okay, well, back around to me. This one is a movie that I actually like, although I haven't seen it in years. But it is really weird because it doesn't have a story. It doesn't have any dialogue. It's a movie called Kuya Niskatsi, which I don't know if either of you guys are familiar with it, but It's spelled Koyanisqatsi. And it's almost more of a music video. It's like this, they took a bunch of video of like starting in nature and different and nature areas and stuff. And then they gradually move towards the city and then they start doing city stuff. All the music is done by Philip Glass and there's no dialogue. So it's like a total like tripped out just like hour and a half or whatever music video. It's gorgeous. The music works well, but you sort of need to check your brain because don't be looking for plot because there isn't one. Just
Right.
kick back and enjoy what you're seeing and hearing. And it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, once you said Philip Glass, I remember the soundtracks.
Yeah, and it goes really well with the music. I mean, with the film too. It's just, and there is, if you stop and think about it, I got some messages from the movie, but they're obviously with no dialogue. They're not like spelled out for you. You just sort of have to think of what is this movie trying to tell me?
Yeah,
So that is my third, and that's one of the bunch that I actually really like.
right. All right. I'm gonna jump up a decade to 1981, The Nesting. And this one is a supernatural horror. I just saw that it was also later released as Massacre Mansion, which I think is a better title because I never understood The Nesting because it starts off where it looks like it could be a brothel of some sort back in the 40s, and someone goes in and starts killing everybody. And later on, um, a woman, I guess she inherits the house and she starts seeing all these different things. And I should say, even though John Carradine's name is up big, he's not in it that much. But of the time that he's in it, I think I mean, you know him. He could say one or two lines and it's like that's like, comedy gold or, he's just amazing in this one. Um, and so yeah, it's very surreal in a way, just the way how uh there was another movie that was very kind of similar to this where it was more in a like an apartment building, uh Rosemary's Baby. The way it was kind of surreal. But this one is just it's gory. You don't see the first killings, but you see other things. And there was one scene, it takes place outdoors, and something happens to this one person, and they all of a sudden they just like it's almost like quicksand, but there's no sand there, and it just had that quicksand effect, pulling them down. Um, I first saw this uh, on VHS, and I've been I every time I would find it, it was like I to buy it, I had to buy it. I need to buy it on Blu-ray because it's really good. I mean, and it has the '80s vibe that most of those, you know, the horror movies that came out. There's something about the atmosphere of it that you could say without knowing the exact year. You can say that's '80s. It just has that. And I noticed that there's a lot of films like that, regardless of the genre. You can just picture, say, that's from the '80s. They just had some even like low budget stuff, you could tell, how well it was done from the 80s. And let's see who else was in it. Yeah, John Carradine was the main person. Then there was someone named Gloria Gra Graham, and that was her final role. But it was pretty good. And the person that gets the house, is a novelist that has agoraphobia. So she's stuck in, and for her to leave the house is very difficult, you know. But yeah, this is a good one, for 80s horror fans. This is one to check out. You need to get this one.
And I was just going to throw in that that's pretty typical of John Carradine and a lot of his 70s and even 70s and 80s movies. He's gets like top billing and then has like two scenes or something like that. Only a few lines, but I would see him in anything anyway. I know of a few others that are similar to that where he did that. Sounds interesting though.
It really is. I mean, it's not too far out there, but it's just the weird idea of how the way the ghosts come to her, and it's like uh it's like you're not sure if they're real or not. And it's, unlike obvious ghosts, you can tell, but these ones, they look so realistic, and that's where I think the surrealism comes from. I was like, because weren't these people killed? And she feels like she's tormented. So that's my number third movie.
Okay, so I'm up again. I have another trippy one here, inching my way up into 1973. I haven't done a Paul Naschy movie in a little while, so I decided to talk about Vengeance of the Zombies. He did a zombie, actually, probably did a couple of zombie movies, but anyway, this is at least one of them. It is very trippy, and some of it unintentionally, I think. He used to write and act in his movies. In this one, he plays a character called Krishna, and he also plays a couple of other roles too. He's the devil at one point, and some of these other trippy scenes and things. So it is just your basic zombie movie. People are coming back to life and attacking people. But Paul Naschy plays this Krishna. It's kind of like a hairy, well, not really hairy Krishna because he does have hair, but he wears this ridiculous wig with long hair that's almost laughable. I mean, I can't see it without laughing at that stupid wig he's wearing in this thing. But so it's kind of trippy for that. And I think that character, Krishna, is also kind of based on wasn't it like a guru or something that the Beatles were consulting, or maybe it was just John Lennon or something in the late 60s, early 70s that befriended them. One of those kinds of characters anyway. That's supposed to be the character that he's playing in this one. And it is, he came out with something like 8 movies in 1973, and I don't think he filmed them all simultaneously. I think he just had this big backlog from the movies that he made in Spain, and then he reached the United States in 73. So this was like his big explosion year, and some of the movies are better than others. Most of them are better than this one. But it's not one of his worst, which is saying something. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I can say about it. He did a little bit of everything. He did every type of horror movie you can imagine. He tried to do all the different monsters. Some of them he did better than others. He did the werewolf, of course, best. He's most famous for his Waldemar Daninsky werewolf. He did a couple of zombie movies. I think this is at least his first one, if not his best one. But so it was kind of his take on Night of the Living Dead kind of thing, I guess. But it is trippy in some ways intentionally and in some ways unintentionally. There is some copious nudity in there too. I should probably throw in there. If you think that's a plus or a minus, that's up to you, the viewer. But I guess you should be warned about it. It is in there. So that's my next
Okay, well, we're back around to me. This time around, I am going to go for the movie that I think is the absolute worst movie of all time. Um, this movie came out in 1991. I don't even know if it was actually released at the time. It's been released much later, but I don't know how much it was released at the time. It's called Slaughter Day. And it's obviously, I mean, and I'm not taking points off for this. Obviously, it's very low budget for the time. It seems like you got a bunch of maybe high school or college kids who've got a camcorder and they're making this movie, which is 100%, I applaud that. But they started off, it's got sort of a Evil Dead, like they basically come in with the Evil Dead type deadite possession thing going on and get in the middle of that. And you know what? I could overlook pretty much anything if they made it a short movie, like maybe 15 minutes, because it's actually not terrible for 15 minutes. But the thing is, it turns into like these total martial arts things, like these guys just basically doing martial arts on each other, and like somebody will get killed, and then a couple scenes later you see them and they're back again, and I mean it's edited so poorly that you can see where they've like dubbed from one VCR to another because it'll say play. And then
one.
sometimes you can hear the director go, everybody's standing there waiting and you hear him go, and then they start the scene. And I mean, that's simple editing. I'm gonna fault those guys for some of that. But the problem is it just keeps going on and on and on. And after a while, you're like, okay, I've seen all this martial arts crap before. You guys have done it 8 times already. And how did he get back up? You know? Um, so I think it's a real stinker of a movie, to be honest. Like I say, if they had cut it to maybe 10, 15 minutes, it probably would have been pretty good. But
Hmm.
All right.
now follow
I guess
that one.
follow that one. Well, I'm jumping up a couple more years to 1987. I mean, with a sci-fi horror film called The Kindred.
That's a good movie.
This has Rod Steiger in it, and that's really the only reason why I kind of picked that one. It is either that one or the other one he did, American Gothic. But this one doesn't get as much notice as American Gothic, so I thought I'd go for this one. It's basically, I want to say it's more science fiction with horror elements into it than a horror science fiction film. I mean, uh, and this was another one of those VHS ones that I rented, way back then. Just has an interesting concept, about you, there's a laboratory, and you find out that the he was doing things that created some sort of monster, kindred, Um, I mean, there's really not much about it. I mean, it has like a creepy vibe, mad scientist, human evolution type vibe to it. And it's been so long since I've seen it, but all I remember is, the way Rod Steiger was acting. He kind of acted a little out there, and I thought maybe this would been a fun one to add to the list. And this is probably one of my least favorite of those two that I mentioned, American Gothic. This one American Gothic seemed to be a little more straight to the point of what's going on. This one, you have to really kind of pay attention to a lot of it. But other than that, I mean, it's not a bad thing. Bad. Try to see who else is in it. Mostly, Rod Steiger, and then someone named Amanda Pays, Kim Hunter. Really, let me see what else. And
Tim
it
Hunter
is
was
out.
a pretty big name at that time.
Yeah, and it's got
I remember that.
it's even got like a new. I mean, if you're one of these 4K enthusiasts, I'm going to put that lightly there, enthusiast. It they have it out on 4K. So I mean, again, it has that 80s atmosphere to it that, you really gotta, if you love 80s horror and science fiction, and you're one of these that you got to have everything, or if you're just tired of the usual suspects of what 80s horror has, I mean, this is something to kind of a little more of a deep dive into it. I would say it's worth, if anything, it's worth watching. Purchasing, I'll leave that up to the viewer. So that's my fourth one.
Okay, so back around to me once more. I haven't done a wrestling movie in a while, have I? I haven't tortured you with a wrestling, and this one is torture. Actually, it's kind of a fun movie. Imagine if there was a Spinal Tap movie for wrestling, and that is Grunt the Wrestling Movie, because it is a mockumentary on professional wrestling, believe it or not. I don't know who got this idea. It's actually a lot of fun. It is hilarious. And intentionally, it's very tongue in cheek. It's basically this guy. It actually is supposed to be this guy with just a video camera trying to make a documentary on this wrestler named The Mask that they made up. Yeah, real creative there. But the thing is supposed to be Mad Dog Joe DeCurso is supposed to be The Mask, and it was a famous wrestling gimmick that a lot of wrestlers did. You'd lose a loser leave towns match, and then you'd come back as a masked wrestler. Dusty Rhodes did it as the Midnight Rider. Andre the Giant did it and came back as the Machine. A lot of wrestlers did this gimmick where they would lose a retirement match or loser leaves town or something, and then they'd come back. So this fan is supposedly going over and interviewing these wrestlers and going to these wrestling shows and recording them and trying to do this documentary on who is the Mask. And there's some real wrestlers in there. Steve Strong is in there. He was Canadian wrestler. He was in Calgary Stampede for a long time. He never really made it into the big leagues, WWF. We would have thought so because, you could tell by his name probably. He had the chiseled look that became very popular in the 80s, in 80s wrestling. This is 1985, by the way. So Exotic Adrian Street is in there as himself. There's two guys called the Grunt Brothers, where they get the title from, and they are played by Dick Murdoch and Dick Bear. Dick Murdoch wrestled as himself. Dick Bear wrestled as the Destroyer and Dr. X in the AWA. And it was interesting because when I saw it the first time, I was like, that other Grunt brother, I can recognize his voice, but I can't recognize him. Turned out, well, that's why, because he was a masked wrestler for the majority of his career. I'm trying to see who else is in this. Wally George, who was actually a promoter, is in this. Exotic Adrian Street's wife, Linda, excuse me. Bill Anderson, who was also a ring announcer, is in it. Let's see, John Tolos, Count Billy Varga, some old-timey guys, John Tolos and Billy Varga. So anyway, you kind of get the idea. Some real wrestlers. There's a lot of wrestling action in it. And the most hilarious scene in one of the wrestling matches, one wrestler takes a big swipe at the other and literally knocks his head off, and it goes spinning around into the crowd. It's like you're watching that, but that's from somewhere around halfway, maybe three-quarters of the way through the film, and you're kind of like, is this supposed to be serious, or are they just putting me on? And when you see that
Right.
scene, it's like, okay, they're putting me on. This is supposed to be comedy. But if you like that kind of comedy where you're not sure if it's really supposed to be comedy, which is kind of like Spinal Tap, this is the movie for you. It does a lot of that tongue-in-cheek type stuff that Spinal Tap did for the music industry. And it kind of does reference other wrestling movies, like The Wrestler and what was that one? Oh, I Like to Hurt People with the Sheik. It kind of plays on some of those previous actual wrestling movies that came before it, kind of like Spinal Tap did as well. So, I call it the Spinal Tap of professional wrestling, but it's worth checking out, even if you're not a fan.
Is Wally George the same guy I'm thinking that had kind of like blondish hair?
He sometimes he had blonde hair, sometimes he had dark hair. It depends. Count Billy Varga, you mean?
No, the guy Wally George.
Oh, Wally
Was,
George. I think he usually had dark hair.
there was a commentary host in Orange County that he did like this little political show. It had kind of like oh no, it wasn't political. It was kind of like what Howard Stern did, but he did it on cable TV. And it was kind of a combination of Howard Stern and Jerry Springer.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he just dyed his hair for a show like that to do something a little different once in a while.
Right.
He was an announcer, in several areas, I believe, out there in California. I think he did AWA. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he did something like that at some point in his career. That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah.
But it's a cute film. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, you could probably get a couple of laughs out of it.
Okay, so back to me then. I'm going to go to last year, 2025. This movie, I'm not sure if I pronounce it correct. I pronounce it as Morir in Silence. It's Mouriir, and the second word is En, and then silence is the third word. And it's I have to confess, I'm actually in the movie, so it's not like a review, so to speak, because I wouldn't do a review of the movie because I'm actually in it. And I play like this complete psycho weird dude, so basically me. But anyway, this movie is like more a work of art than a movie. The story is not a narrative story. I mean, there is a story there, but there isn't a ton of dialogue. There are like little pieces, and Zach Ferguson, who's the director, he's very artsy. He's very dark, very artsy. It's black and white. There were a lot of weird animations, and the video gets done weird edits and stuff like that, and looped around and things. It's got at times the animation and just the dark tone of it made me think of the movie The Wall from Pink Floyd. That sort of a thing. And some of the animation reminds me a little of Monty Python too. Now Zach didn't do the animation. I can't remember the name of the person who did, but and it's very dark. It's very bizarre. I mean, I know what the story is because Zach told me about it, so I would understand the character. But if I watched the movie, I don't think I would know what the story is. It isn't a straight narrative like that. It's more something to experience. And the one thing I want to mention, the weird thing about that, hang on, I've got to look it up here. You probably will never see it. It according to them, they're never going to release it for streaming. The only way you can get it is to buy a Blu-ray, and it's like really limited quantities. It's from Tarnished Vision Films, and I don't know. They were talking about just doing 100 copies. They may have changed it. They said they might do a second run of another 100, so I don't know where they're at on it. But So literally almost nobody's ever going to see that movie, but it is, that's one that, you know what, it is a really weird experience, but I think it's a worthwhile experience. I mean, you're probably going to be bewildered when you're done watching it, but you will have known you experienced something. And it's very artistic.
Where would I be able to find that Blu-ray if I wanted to buy it?
If you go to, they have Tarnished Vision Films actually is on Facebook. They have a Facebook page. Oh, it's actually tarnishedvisionfilms.com looks like it's the website.
Okay,
And
so you buy
you
it from
should be
their
able to buy it
website.
there.
Okay, just in case anybody wanted to be one of the lucky 100 people to
Yes.
own that film.
Yeah,
Unless they do a second run of another 100 or whatever, or 50
Yeah.
or whatever.
yeah. Before you go to the next thing, whoever buys it, comment below, or
Yeah. Or if
don't
you happen to have seen
comment,
it,
or don't
comment.
comment. Don't if you want to out yourself, you can
Do a
do that.
selfie with the Blu-ray
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
and send it to us. We'd love to see that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my last one is called Curse of the Blue Lights. I first saw this again on VHS. I was actually visiting my cousins, and we went over to a video store to get something. And just the cover of the film, I got drawn to it. So, um, I watched it with them, and they kind of looked at me like, "We're not going to let you pick any more movies because this was
I get
weird."
that a lot.
And it's like he, he basically told me, he says, if you're going to pick something like that, watch it when we're asleep, because you know. Um, and it's basically there's this little town called Blue Lights, and there's a curse on it. They don't know where the lights come from, where what the curse is. They just said there's some sort of a legend. What it is these creatures, monster-looking creatures, to get sustenance, they eat people. And not like a zombie, they actually like eat the entire body. And when they talk about that they've been on the planet before, it for some reason it kind of gave me some Lovecraft vibes by them saying that, but they didn't go into any kind of detail as to when or how or anything. Um, it was I mean, I guess for cinematography, it was very beautiful, and the just the way the coloring in the whole film is something really neat to look at. The movie is very low budget, acting subpar, um, but it was just kind of fun in a way, and especially if you like weird movies, this is something to check out. Now, I was just reading somewhere it is out on Blu-ray, but um, you have to get it from a place called Vinegar Syndrome. They
They
may
release a
have
lot of good stuff.
they may have it on Amazon, but I think it's probably more than what you can get it on Vinegar Syndrome. It's got a 2K um, release, and there's only and a limited run, not as limited as yours, Gary, but 6,000 copies. And they um and it's just pretty. I mean, all the creatures are subterranean, so and they do come out to get people. And again, like I said, the lights, they don't explain why the lights happen. They don't explain the legend, which kind of annoys me a little bit because I want to have. I mean, you could be vague about it, but don't just say it happened. You know, uh, but that was I never owned it. I might eventually because I like to get a lot of the 80s horror movies because it just that was the time that I watched horror the most out of any era. And of course, being of the VHS crowd, we got to see some interesting stuff. And I think this was also one of those direct to videos because it had that feel to it. If it wasn't, it was very limited release into theaters, maybe like 1 or 2 theaters. But that's one to check out if you like your weird movies. That's one to check out. So I think that this episode, not only do we talk about weird movies, just the overall vibe for all the different movies that we've seen is it's just weird and out there stuff. And
Yes, there is.
And I mean, I enjoy talking to you guys about these movies. And like we always say at the end of the videos, if you have 5, just give us 5 weird movies. Maybe we haven't seen them yet.
Oh, if you even if you can't come up with 5, do maximum of 5. If you can only come up with 2 or
Yeah.
3, put those in
Oh
there.
yeah, just put
Put
those
them in there. Maybe we'll check them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you'll stump Bill especially because he's seen a lot.
I feel like that too, but you guys always come up with movies I've never seen.
Yep. So who knows? It might stump us all. That'll be good if you stump all 3 of us. I'll be looking forward to seeing that
And the challenge is on.
for 2026.
That's right.
Stump the chumps.
All right, as usual, Gary, Bill, thanks.
Great.
Had a lot of fun doing these things. Oh, there you go.
This is from a drive-in thing they have in Pittsburgh. Well, outside of Pittsburgh, not too far from
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
cool.
Twice a year. I went to a couple times. They did a bunch of Vincent Price movies one night. They do like 4 movies on Friday and 4 movies on Saturday. So it's pretty cool. Super Monster Rama. Anyway.
We have something interesting here in Bangor. Sometime in the summer, over at Mount Hope Cemetery, which was featured in Pet Cemetery. They play a movie out there, a Stephen King movie.
Oh wow, that'd be.
So I don't know when it is, but I'm sure people can look it up online. They usually sell out pretty quickly because they don't have a lot of space. But until next time, everyone.
Yep.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much for watching this episode. And stay tuned for the next one.